Hi, everybody. It is April Biss. I just wanted to give you a how-to video for your week 2 traditional typography letterform pattern project. I apologize if you actually read this actually yesterday when this was posted. You may have found less instructions in there. I actually went in and added some more instructions, a little bit more detailed instructions, so it's easier to understand, hopefully. So if you already read this, reread it again. What we're going to do is we're going to create an 8.5 by 11 artboard in Illustrator, and this should be corrected, so I'm going to correct that in a second. We're going to be creating 4 boxes, all 3" by 3". In the artboard itself, we're going to align them together nicely, and we're going to put each example of your letterform patterns inside those squares. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is kind of going to give you an idea of how to play around with positive and negative forms using your using just letters. You can use uppercase letters. You can use lowercase letters. The only restrictions are only 2 letters per square, and they have to be the same typeface, whichever you change that to. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to share Illustrator and show you how to do this. My apologies, I'm losing my voice, so it might sound a little raspy. Okay, so go to File, New, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure our width is in inches. So we have 11 inches by 8.5. This should be your landscape orientation. Click Create, and this is your artboard that you'll be placing your 4 examples in. All right, so let's go over to your shape, your toolbar. And we're going to look for the square. If you don't see it on there, which is under your shapes tool, hit M on your keyboard. It'll go right to that. It's a shortcut key. And what we're going to do is we're going to click 1 time on the artboard once we select that tool so that we have this rectangle panel pop up. And you're going to type in 3 inches by 3 inches and click OK. Make sure that you have a stroke of black, which I have. The fill of white is fine. If you want to, say none, that's fine too. Go ahead and take your selection tool and just move it up here somewhere to the upper left-hand corner. Now we're going to copy and paste this, so it's easy. So you can go up to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, or Command-C, Command-V. So go ahead and copy, paste. Or you can do a really cool little shortcut. With this selected, you can hold down, if you're on a Mac, you can, with this selected, hold down the Option key and drag this down or over wherever you need it to be. Make sure you have your snap to grid on in your view options. So go up to View on your menu bar and choose Snap to Grid. And what that's going to do is once you select all of these, you can either drag and select them all or do Command-A, it selects them all. It's going to snap it to a grid together. Let's go ahead and bring up your Align tool too. So go up to Window, choose Align. And make sure that these are all aligned. Select the first 2. We're going to make sure they're all top aligned. So they're aligned here. Same thing with this, bottom 2 align on the top. There we go. And then we're going to choose these 2 squares, pull them down just a little bit so that they're equal in width here. Okay, presentation is key. Select all, and we're going to drag this kind of in the middle here so that it's centered. Okay, and at this point, I would definitely save this. And we're going to do Letterform. We're going to name this, I'm going to put this on the desktop so I know where it's at for now. You should have a folder for your class, for this class. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock these for now so that I'm not touching them. So I'm going to go up to Object on your menu board and then menu bar, I should say, and then choose Lock and hit Selection. And that just locks them so that you're not accidentally selecting them. Next thing I'm going to do is take the Type tool and I'm going to click on top of one of these squares, doesn't matter where. And I'm going to do my initials. I'm going to do it all caps for this particular example. Maybe make it much bigger. So if you go to your character palette, you can click in here and make it a lot bigger. Choose a typeface that's going to be, you know, pretty thick. I'm going to do Den Bold. And so that looks pretty good. Now, you don't necessarily have to use this particular typeface. And in fact, you should use maybe 4 different typefaces for each example, just to play around with different typefaces. The only thing that's required is the 2 letters need to be in the same typeface for each example. So you can't change, say, B to another typeface in this example. Okay. Make this a little bit bigger, and you can change the size and bring up the character palette here. You can change the size here. It goes up to 72 points, but you can always click in here and type in, you know, a point size that's larger if you need to, or you can hold down the shift key and pull out the bounding box to make this bigger as well. If you don't do that, if you don't hold the shift key down, look what happens. It distorts it. So we don't want that. We don't want to distort the letters in any way. Okay, the next step that you need to do is with these 2 letters selected, go up to type, and we want to convert these to outlines. So Shift Command O, or go up to type on your menu bar and choose create outlines. And what that's going to do, it's going to take it from being an actual letter form to a shape so that we can manipulate this further. The next step you need to do in order to move these as individual shapes is go up to Object with it selected and choose Ungroup. Click right off of it. And now you can see that each of these are ungrouped and you can move them around, you know, whichever way you want to. Now, this is kind of the fun part, you know, experiment. You could rotate these. You could kind of play around any way you want, make one bigger, one smaller, play around with how they meet together. Think about positive, negative space, how these are going to look. Okay, I'm just going to do this one just as an example, but it doesn't necessarily, you might want to try this at first, what I'm doing, and then you can kind of go on your own and experiment based on your comfort level. I'm just going to do this for now. Okay. So let's say I want to play around with this and I kind of like this shape and I think this is going to work. As long as you can recognize these 2 letter forms in this square, you're good. Okay, that's exactly what I want. But I want it to go inside this square. So now I'm going to go back up to Object. I'm going to unlock all of my boxes. Okay. Now make sure your box is filled with white. It's a white fill with a black stroke. And with that being said, just select the 2 letters. So hold down Shift when you're doing this. Just select the 1 letter and then Shift select the other letter. You can let go of Shift at that point. Do not select the background. Actually, hold on. Let me see here. Hold on. We go to Pathfinder, go up to Window. We want your Pathfinder panel to be open. All right. Actually, we may need to select the background. Shift select the background. Because what we're going to do is we're going to try to intersect and get rid of the outside letter forms that go beyond this box here. All right. So we're going to go up to Pathfinder and we're going to choose Exclude. And look how cool that is. So what that's doing is it's excluding, it's turning it inverted. So now click off and take your direct selection tool, which is your white arrow, and click on top inside the letter forms that are going outside of the box to select and hit delete on your keyboard. Anything that's going, you might have to hit it more than once. See how that's kind of making that nice balance. I'm going to also select this part because I don't want this stroke to be in there. I want it to be very clean and I want it to show, you know, the negative and the positive forms. This looks great. And then what you could do if you wanted to, you could always add another 3x3 without a fill, just a stroke on top of that. So you have a nice little border. It's completely up to you. I think that works really well. Okay, then you're going to go on to the next one. I'm going to do lowercase this time. And I'm just doing my initials. So it's up to you what you want to do. I'm going to change my font. Let's see. Let's do, actually, that's kind of cool. Century Gothic. It's kind of interesting. You can always pull this over here to your the side of your artboard. Again, type on your menu bar, create outlines once you get the two that you want in the same typeface. Object ungroup. And then just play around with it. Use your selection tool. Play around positive, negative space. I'm just gonna, and you can really have some fun with this. It's kind of cool. And it's just a nice, interesting way to play around with negative, positive space. What things that you can create doing this together. I'm going to do this right here. This looks kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to bring this over. Now, I didn't lock my square again, so just be wary if you need to lock that again before you put this over top. And I'm going to pull this so it's a little bit bigger. You can always rotate it if you want. Make a very interesting look. And what I'm doing is I'm just having my cursor with my selection tool just right on this bounding box. And it shows the little arrow that's left to right. It looks like it's rotated. And once it starts doing that, you can click and rotate your shape here. It's kind of a little tricky. Okay, so now I got my shapes. I'm going to shift select all of these again. Shift select your letters and then the background. That's key. You have to shift select the letters first and then the background, and then choose your Pathfinder exclude button. Click off of that. Go to your direct selection tool, and we're going to delete the excess on the background. And then anything in here that you may want to kind of play around with that may look kind of weird. You can leave those in if you want, completely up to you. But if it looks like, you know, it might look kind of neat, more interesting without, you definitely can do that. And again, you can go to your square, create just the outline to go over it so you have a nice little presentation. Okay, let's do another one with my initials. You guys get to listen to my clock dinging. All kinds of different noises here. Okay, let's do like a script. This is Angelina's script. And let's see what it looks like with a capital and B. That looks kind of cool. Let's see what kind of letters we got here. Actually, I'm going to keep it lowercase. I think it's a little bit more simplified that way. Again, type, create outlines, get those two separated, ungroup, object ungroup. You can even rotate this completely, you know, around upside down, you know, kind of play with it, see what you can come up with. Have fun with it. You know, it's all about experimenting and seeing what kind of looks cool. But you're still seeing that letter form. That's kind of neat. And you can leave it like this. You know, you don't necessarily have to do the Pathfinder option that I showed you. You could totally leave it like this, you know, as long as it kind of looks interesting and you have two letters coming together, you could definitely leave it like this. I'm going to go in and change this little. The neat thing about creating outlines is you can go in here and use your direct selection tool, and you can actually manipulate some of the strokes here, which is not wanting me to do this easily here. Let's get rid of that one. And we'll do something like that. And it's like pretty jumpy here. I'm going to kind of leave it at that. So I'll show you here in a second. I'm going to group these so I don't lose it. Bring it over here. Make it a little bit smaller. And okay, so say if I wanted to keep that shape, but I wanted it to fit inside here. So it's like, maybe just a little bit bigger. I'm going to ungroup this. Okay, I'm going to shift select these two and select the background just like I showed you. Oops. And what I did was I just hit unite. Let's see if this is actually going to work. Oh, wait, you know what? That wasn't the one here. Hold on one second. These Pathfinders buttons are a little visually interesting here. There we go. Okay. I did the one on the top, but I was supposed to do this one here, divide. So you can select these two letters, shift select, and then the background and hit divide if you want to keep these letters intact, but you just want to delete the outside that goes over. Okay, you might have a little bit of a weird, kind of like a gap here, and that's okay. What you can do is just choose your, again, 3x3, make another 3x3 square with just a stroke and put it right on top, and that should solve that little weird bump. And you have actually a little bit down here I need to delete. There we go. So it could be something like that too, where it's more positive and, where it's more white in the background rather than flipping it, but you're joining these two letters together. Okay, let me do one more in a different typeface. Let's do Arial. I'm gonna do capital letters here. Create outlines, ungroup. And this time, let me see if I can. I guess this is the fun part, is just kind of playing around with how these would work together. Okay, let's try this. This is kind of cool. All right, so it's just fun to play around with these shapes. And again, if you wanted to keep the color the same, you could do exactly what I just did with the Pathfinder divide option. If you want to do the other option, you could definitely do that. So let me show you both. Let me pull this down just a little bit. There we go. Okay, let me show you both options. So I could hit, let me select my background. I can choose divide, which would divide this up like this. And I could delete my outside areas with the direct selection tool. Just hit delete, delete, delete till it all deletes. Looks like this sectioned off a little bit weird, so I have to keep hitting delete. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I probably would delete. Let's see if I can delete this middle area possibly. Actually, I kind of like that. I'm gonna leave that. The only thing I would do is delete that, and I would do a 3x3 square with a stroke on top. Oops. Just so it looks more clean and more neat. So you could do it like that, which is kind of neat because you're showing, the positive and the negative in a different way. Or let me go back. I'm just doing undo. Oops. Or you can select these two and then shift select the background and choose exclude in your Pathfinder. This is kind of a neat way to just see how it looks completely inverted. It kind of makes the magic happen right away in a completely different look. And then you can go in here and delete any unnecessary, extra lines that you think are a little bit too overkill. You want it to be simple and clean. Again, creating that square, we'll just make it over top. We'll just make it look cleaner. And there you go. So now I have 4 examples using two different letter forms, lowercase, uppercase, depending on what you want to do. Each square shows the same typeface, just 2 different letters. I'm playing around with positive, negative space. Just make sure your squares are aligned and look good on your presentation board. You know, you put so much work into your work, why not make it present professionally as well? The devil is in the details. Go ahead and save this, and you're going to save it as a PDF as well. So you're going to save it as an AI file as well as a PDF, and you're going to submit your PDF for evaluation. All right, I'm going to post this to announcements as well as into your grade specific outline that I just showed you, so that hopefully the instructions are more clear. All right, have fun with this.